Good morning, I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Stephen Romo in for Savannah Sellers today. Right now on Morning News Now, going public. Lawmakers vote to release a report on former President Trump's long-awaited tax returns. The move potentially ends years of speculation about Trump's business dealings and personal wealth. We'll explain just when we could see those documents. And in another setback for the former president this week, the January 6th report. What to expect from that full report coming out today, and the latest on the criminal referrals against Trump. Surprise visit. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy will be in Washington today in his first trip outside of Ukraine since the war started. Zelenskyy is expected to address Congress, the key help he is hoping to get from his U.S. visit and this high-risk situation. Bitter blast. Millions of Americans are bracing for life-threatening cold temperatures. From heavy winds to blizzards and flash freezes, the Midwest, the Northeast, and even the South will likely be dealing with the worst of this storm. We're tracking its path and what it could mean for your holiday travel plans. Also this morning, age of exploration. 2022 has been a historic year for space travel. NASA is one step closer to sending astronauts back to the moon. Plus, the future of space tourism is looking a little brighter. An astronaut joins us in studio with the biggest space stories of the year and what 2023 could hold. What a great way to end the year.
Exactly. Not just any astronaut, but Astro Mike Massimino, one of our favorite guests here.
Oh, great. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's drop a name next time. It's the same astronaut. I love it. Well, we begin this morning with that battle over former President Trump's tax returns.
Yeah, the House Ways and Means Committee voted yesterday to make 6 years of Trump's tax returns public. This follows numerous attempts by Trump himself to keep his returns out of the hands of Congress. We've got a preview of those returns in a report released last night by the Joint Committee on Taxation. And it comes as the January 6th committee is also set to release its final report on the insurrection today. Now, here's what House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Richard Neal said after that Trump taxes vote.
I want to say this, after a long process, that this was not about being punitive, it was not about being malicious, and there were no leaks from the committee. We adhered carefully to the law.
Joining us now to break all of this down is NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Rafa and NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalos. Ali, let's start with you. As we said, the staff of the Joint Committee on Taxation released that report last night on former President Trump's taxes. The House Ways and Means Committee also released its own separate report. So what are the big takeaways from both?
Yeah, Joe, good morning. Well, the Ways and Means Committee's 29-page report that they filed yesterday really looks into why the IRS failed to conduct this audit of former President Trump's tax returns until they were asked to do so by the House of Representatives. We know this is a process from history that all presidents and vice presidents are required to do. So that's really the crux of why this committee fought so hard for these returns, to be able to codify this process into law to ensure that it's done every single time after former President Trump promised so many times to disclose these returns and never did. The memo criticizes the IRS for dropping the ball. It says, quote, during the prior administration, it was clear that the mandatory audit program was not a priority and was not provided with the resources needed to ensure compliance by the former president. The memo even includes a memo from the IRS admitting to this lack of resources. On the other hand, you have the Joint Committee on Taxation's report that includes a summary of these returns, but not the actual returns themselves. It also criticizes the IRS, saying that they really trusted these outside accountants, this outside firm that former President Trump used for these returns, but they didn't necessarily verify the authenticity or the truthfulness of what's included in the returns. There are several things that lawmakers are undoubtedly going to be looking into when they more closely examine the details of these reports.
And Danny, let's bring you in here. So usually there's a exemption. You don't have to give your tax returns out. They're confidential for an individual under federal law. So what's the exception here? Is it because he's a former president?
Let's take a step back. This report found that Donald Trump, who told us many times, I can't release my returns because they're under audit. It may be the case that they were never under audit, despite the fact that an Internal Revenue Service manual requires them to be under audit for a president. So in other words, the entire reason he didn't release them was a reason that didn't exist, which is just breathtaking. Now, you ask about access. the committee was always going to get access to these returns because there is a law about 100 years old that requires production of the returns to the committee. The Ways and Means Committee and the Finance Committee can review these in order to discuss legislation, to possibly come up with new legislation. So access is a different issue than releasing them. So even though it should have taken 3 days, it ended up taking 3 years of court battles to release these returns. And I say release, I should say provide these returns to the committee. Now they have elected to release them, which is, given the executive summary and the report I read, very understandable because there seems to be a lot that went wrong here.
And that brings us into, I think, the number one question, Allie, people probably have this morning, which is when could we expect to see Trump's full returns? And then from there, what kind of information do lawmakers hope to find?
Yeah, the Ways and Means Committee says they can be released in a few days because of the amount of sensitive and personal information that has to be redacted from them before they're made public. And some of the things that lawmakers and others are going to be looking for in them are obviously Trump's yearly income, the sources of that income, the tax he paid on it, the state of his finances while he was president, those net losses he reported while he was in office, any conflicts of interest that he had during his presidency, any association or links to foreign bank accounts, what was donated to charity, any real estate depreciations, as well as any more insight into that IRS audit, as Danny mentioned, that former President Trump was saying was still ongoing. So there's a lot to glean from these documents that lawmakers are going to be looking over in the next few days before these are released, as well as after.
And Danny, that is a long list of stuff we couldn't find out from these releases. What exactly would happen? What ramifications could we see if there's evidence of wrongdoing in these returns?
Yeah, Trump won't face any ramifications for fighting the release of his returns, even though it took several years. But as many have pointed out, the release of these returns I think of as a kind of flagpole planted in the ground. In other words, this is Trump committing to a particular thing so that when he's being investigated in other venues, for example, for inflating his value to get favorable loans, or deflating his value when the tax man cometh, those are the kinds of things that put a pin in what Trump at least said to the IRS about what he owes, what he's owned, what he's given as gifts. It gives anyone investigating him plenty of evidence, but in the case of the DOJ, it may be evidence that in other ways they've long already had.
There's something else we've been talking about all week, Allie, and that is the January 6th committee's full report, which is finally set to be released today. What can we expect? Are there any surprises left to come?
It's unlikely that this final report is going to have any surprises because committee members gave us sort of a preview of what to expect in it during that last meeting that they had on Monday. They alluded to more information on the cases that they built during these 11 hearings and this last meeting that's going to be revealed in this report. More information about the cases that they built for why they referred these criminal charges to the Justice Department for former President Trump. These cases to the House Ethics Committee for their GOP colleagues in Congress, colleagues who ignored subpoenas by the January 6th committee. There's going to be more information about the interviews of those more than 1,000 witnesses that the committee interviewed, the thousands of pieces of evidence from communication between Secret Service agents and White House officials on, before, and around January 6th, as far as some of the communication from even members of Congress to the White House trying to get former President Trump to condemn the violence going on at the Capitol. So there's so much more to be learned from these this final report that we now know. Committee members are sharing this information with the Justice Department, but committee members did allude and give us sort of a hint of what to expect in this lengthy report.
So much to cover this morning, Allie and Danny. Thank you for walking us through it all. We appreciate it. Another big story this morning, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is in Washington today, his first known trip outside Ukraine since the war with Russia began more than 300 days ago.
Yeah, Zelenskyy is expected to hold an extended meeting with President Biden and his national security team before addressing members of Congress. According to the Biden administration, the visit is intended to, quote, underscore the United States' enduring commitment to Ukraine. NBC News White House correspondent Carol Lee joins us now with the latest on this. Good morning to you, Carol. Obviously, just Zelenskyy visiting here is getting so many headlines. So what is he expected to actually talk about with Biden when he meets with him?
Well, they're expected to talk about a number of things, particularly this nearly $2 billion in aid that the U.S. is going to announce. And that includes those Patriot missile defense system, which the Ukrainians have been asking for some time. Now, in terms of the schedule, I can walk you through the president of Ukraine. He's scheduled to arrive at the White House at 2 o'clock. They'll go into a meeting, him and President Biden, to around 2:30. That's expected to last some 2 hours or more. That's on the schedule. And then at 4:30, they will have a joint press conference where they'll take questions from reporters, and then Zelenskyy will address a joint session of Congress later in the evening. And so in addition to the aid that the U.S. is announcing that they'll be providing to Ukraine today, they're also going to discuss the future of aid in Congress and what that looks like. There's a $45 billion aid package that's moving through Congress as part of that broad spending bill. And there's a real question about whether the U.S. is going to be there in terms of supplying Ukraine with aid in the future, as officials say that this war could drag out for some time. So you'll see President Biden, President Zelenskyy both trying to really keep up the momentum and keep the country united around supporting Ukraine.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the aid. How is Congress responding to these proposed aid packages right now? Does it seem like that is Zelensky's number one focus when he speaks to Congress later today?
Yeah, and that it is. And it's partly to try to encourage lawmakers to stick with this, and also to, according to White House officials, to thank the American people for the billions and billions of dollars of aid that they've already provided Ukraine. Congress so far has maintained bipartisan support for supplying Ukraine with additional aid. Senior leaders in Congress, Republicans and Democrats, back this, but there is a growing number of Republicans within the Republican caucus who are saying, look, this is too much aid. They don't want to support this. And there's some concern about that, particularly as this goes on for some time.
And Zelenskyy is also expected to address the American people directly. So why is that such a priority, and what are we expecting to hear?
No, I think in terms of what you're expecting to hear is we've seen President Zelenskyy before address bodies of lawmakers in various countries, including virtually in this Congress earlier this year, and he'll paint presumably a stark picture of what's happening in the war in Ukraine, the suffering that the Ukrainian people are going through as Russia continues to rain down bombs on the Ukrainians, and also to thank the American people for their support and try to get them to continue to stay united around supporting them. It's also worth noting that part of the President Zelensky's conversations with President Biden are likely to focus on some of the things that the U.S. is not providing that the Ukrainians would like the U.S. to provide, some of those longer range weapons, tanks, FC-16s, things like that. And so there'll be some pressure on President Biden to follow through potentially with supplying some of those larger weapons.
All right, Carol Lee, thanks for that update. And be sure to tune in tonight for a closer look at how one Ukrainian town is surviving the war with Russia. Our special, titled Life, Death, and Liberation, Izium Ukraine, airs tonight at 10:30 p.m. Eastern right here on NBC News Now.
Millions of people are bracing for blizzard-like conditions and below freezing temperatures just 4 days before Christmas.
Yeah, the holiday storm is expected to bring heavy snow and winds to the Midwest and the Great Lakes states before slamming the East Coast. The winter threat is also putting a major strain on airports across the country as travelers get ready for their holiday journeys. We have everything you need to know before you head out of town this week. But first, meteorologist Angie Lassman has the latest on where that severe winter weather is going to hit the hardest. Hey, Angie.
Hey there, guys. And I think my advice to you this morning, if you live in the Northeast or the South, is leave early. That's what you're going to want to do, because as we get through the next 24 to 48 hours, things will get a little sticky there. Already expecting some snow in parts of the high plains. That's where that system will work through first, impacting folks there. And then eventually, as you mentioned, moving into the Great Lakes and having blizzard conditions as well as high winds. And then we'll see also some lake effect issues that I'll talk about as far as the freezing spray that could likely be encasing homes along the lakeshore in ice. This will be something to see, and you'll see, I'm sure, great visuals coming out of this on social media. But as we look ahead to basically tomorrow and into Friday, you can see most of the Northeast dealing with the rain impacts as that system does intensify, and eventually will move out of the picture. But we've got a multitude of impacts to talk about. So let's start with those blizzard conditions. Notice how much snow we're expecting, especially downwind of those lakes. We could see a foot of snow, and this is something that will be not just for Thursday, but lasting into Friday as well. That blowing snow will also be reducing visibility. We have the high winds that we're expecting. I'll show you those here in a moment, but just something to note, while it's snowing, the visibilities are going to be really difficult. As far as the Northeast goes, we're a little too warm. We're on the warm side of that system, so that means that it's rain that we're really going to deal with. But the problem is that rain could potentially cause some flooding. We'll have melting snow from last week's storm that will likely add to that. So the coastal flooding also on the table as well with those strong winds. We could see storm surge along the coast up to 3 feet. So we'll watch for any of those flood-prone areas here as we get through Thursday, Friday, and eventually into Saturday. We'll start to see things letting up. The winds are really concerning. 50, 60-mile-per-hour winds, and this is long-lasting. This isn't just, part of the day on Friday. This will last into Saturday, and we'll finally start to see those weaken. But we could be talking about widespread power outages, hundreds of thousands of people out of power just in time for the holidays, just in time for Christmas Eve. And that is really becomes very concerning when it comes to the temperature drop that we're going to see. So in the high plains, sub-zero temperatures, but this spreads east to those locations that we're expecting to see the power outages, and we could be dealing with 24 degrees for a high in New York on Saturday with widespread power outages. This is really concerning. A big drop in temperatures after rain. That means that ice developing on the roadways causes a lot of problems for travel. So not just the airlines, guys, also the roads, anywhere from Chicago to Boston on I-90, maybe 95, I-70, all going to be an issue.
I feel like we're hearing a lot of people who are like, I'm leaving town today or Thursday to just try and get wherever they need to get ahead of all this.
That's the best advice, because once that system comes, it's going to be a couple days before we'll really have things under control.
Oof, couple days.
Interesting Christmas weekend. All right. Thanks, Angie.
Well, for more on the storm's potential impact, let's go to travel expert Mark Elwood. Mark, good morning to you. So according to AAA, nearly 113 million people are planning to travel for the holiday. So just give it to us straight. What can they expect at the airport and on the road?
Look, I don't want to put people off. It's going to be a tough season because everyone is traveling en masse. This is the first really post-pandemic Christmas, but we've also got this crazy weather, which is hitting so much of the country, as we've just heard. But there are some solutions. I hope I can reassure people. You can cope even when things go wrong.
That's good to hear. And airlines, of course, already trying to brace for this storm. One employee from the Chicago Department of Aviation actually spoke about the airlines possibly activating an assistance program if passengers get stranded. Let's listen.
When there is bad weather and the airlines know that some of their passengers might be rebooked on another early morning flight, the airlines request that we initiate the passenger assistance program. We'll set up cots and other amenities, past security for passengers if they choose to stay.
Not how a lot of people want to spend their holiday. Quite the warning there. So what should passengers do now? It sounds like you're saying it might not be too late. There's got to be something they can do.
Look, this is a Boy Scout moment. Always be prepared. The issue with travel problems when it comes to weather is you want to get ahead of them. You don't want to get caught up in the middle. Two things you can do. First, get in touch with your airline. Most of the airlines are offering waivers, which means that they'll let you reroute for free. They'll work with you to make sure you don't get caught up in predicted storms. Remember, you want to go down through the south in the winter. If you're connecting, look for a warm weather airport, probably less likely to have problems with snow. I'd also say download an app that I've talked about with you guys before called Flighty. That's the word flight, but with a Y on the end. It's better than any of the airlines apps at giving you notifications. It will tell you what's going on before anyone else does. And the key here is learning what's happening as quickly as you can. First flight you put into Flighty is free. If you want to pay for it and you love it, it's like $5.99 a month or something. But definitely a way to prepare yourself for the storms. I swear by it.
Well, so many people are clutching to plan A. They don't even want to think about plan B. Not really the way to go. We did want to ask, though, what are your tips for people who aren't flying, but they're going to hit the road for the holiday, which it's most people?
Yeah, absolutely. 90%, I think, of the people who are traveling probably going to be going by road. Remember, this is all about not rushing. I know we all want to get somewhere as quickly as we can. Leave earlier in the day to beat the traffic. Remember, I always give myself, in winter weather conditions like this, at least a third more time than I think I need, so that I'm never stressed by the road conditions. I can go a bit slower than I plan. Remember to charge your devices, keep those really up to date in case you do get stuck. And another really good tip, pack something bright colored that you can always tie to your car or the antenna or some way. If for some reason you do get caught in the snow, it's a great way to draw attention to yourself and really simple.
All right, some good tips there. Mark Elwood, thank you.
Pleasure.
Well, in Northern California, at least 2 people are dead and several more are injured after yesterday's 6.4 magnitude earthquake. The quake was followed by dozens of aftershocks. It left tens of thousands of people without power. NBC News national correspondent Miguel Almaguer has the latest.
Jolted out of bed and into chaos, residents in Humboldt County, California, their lives turned upside down.
A structural collapse with entrapment.
A powerful and deadly 6.4 earthquake damaging homes, destroying businesses and severing roads.
We do have a broken window and several cracks in the building.
Much of Northern California was rattled, centered 200 miles north of San Francisco and just outside the small town of Ferndale. Locals say the violent tremor shook for nearly 20 seconds.
This is ground zero. We have several of the residents that have been red tagged.
First responders say 2 people suffered medical emergencies and died. 11 others were injured. Even before sunrise, the apparent damage was widespread. Homes slid off foundations, and inside, virtually everything was strewn across floors. Over 70,000 lost power. Gas lines ruptured. For some, there was warning. State officials say California's MyShake app alerted 3 million people the shake was coming 10 seconds before the ground started shaking. For communities living on shaky ground, just under 100 aftershocks are rattling not just the region, but also nerves. Miguel Almaguer, NBC News.
Coming up on Morning News Now, running out of time.
Yeah, it's deadline day for Israel's prime minister to form a new government after the country's 5th election in less than 4 years. The impact his coalition could have on U.S. relations with the country, that's coming up next.
Welcome back. The Biden administration is asking the Supreme Court to lift a pandemic-era border restriction known as Title 42. But border officials warn it will lead to a sharp rise in illegal crossings. NBC News Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley reports from El Paso, where the migrant crisis is growing more desperate.
We're here in El Paso, Texas, where migrants are clamoring for a place to sleep. City officials here say that they are pushed past capacity. They don't have enough room in their shelters, and they're leaning on the federal government to do more and to send them more money. They're especially worried as soon COVID-19 restrictions could lift at the southern border, bringing even more migrants into El Paso. Here's what we learned.
Chaotic scenes in El Paso, including these migrants climbing over a border fence, others going under barbed wire put up by Texas National Guard. All part of an ongoing surge of illegal border crossings here, and coming just as the Biden administration is asking the Supreme Court to lift a pandemic border restriction known as Title 42. A move border officials say would send the number of illegal border crossings soaring even higher to a record 10,000 per day. The Supreme Court has temporarily blocked lifting Title 42 at the request of 19 Republican states. But the Biden administration asking the court to reverse that in a filing tonight saying Title 42 is no longer necessary to protect public health. Meanwhile, in El Paso, officials say they're facing a humanitarian crisis.
It's about 33 degrees here in downtown El Paso, where migrants are sleeping and huddling together for warmth. You can see the city has come through here to clean out trash. Others have donated clothes. And right now, officials say they're overwhelmed.
We spoke to Natalie, who traveled from Venezuela with her daughter Rosa, the girl without shoes in frigid temperatures after losing them on the journey. They fell off, Natalie says. Her cheeks are burned from the trip and the cold. Natalie told us she was surprised that they were able to just walk across the border into El Paso without being stopped by Border Patrol. I walked through, she told us. And then we met Gabriela.
How are you keeping warm?
Demasiado frío.
Our hands are freezing, and our ribs, the headaches, the body, feet, it's unbearable, she says. El Paso is in its 4th day of a state of emergency. Officials saying city resources are maxed out, and they're pleading for federal help.
There's not enough money. There's no community that could take an influx like that.
We have seen a significant increase.
Ruben Garcia runs a network of 15 migrant shelters in El Paso and said he has had to turn migrants away because they don't have room.
What do you think things will look like here in El Paso when Title 42 is eventually lifted?
I think it's something that we probably can't even describe. The numbers will be very, very high.
Facing intense criticism over its border policies, the Biden administration is now weighing making it harder for migrants to apply for asylum at the southern border and giving them more options to apply for protections from their home countries. Meanwhile, here in El Paso, temperatures are continuing to drop and more migrants are sleeping on the streets.
Julia, thank you.
An update now to a deadly police shooting. Former Fort Worth, Texas police officer Aaron Dean was sentenced yesterday to more than 11 years in prison after being found guilty of manslaughter in the 2019 shooting death of Tatiana Jefferson. Dean shot and killed Jefferson, a black woman, through the window of her mother's home while responding to a call about an open front door. Dean pleaded not guilty in this case, with his attorneys arguing the former officer was defending himself. Prosecutors had sought a murder conviction, but the jury was allowed to consider that lesser manslaughter charge.
It's deadline day for Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu to form a new government after his far-right alliance won last month's election, the 5th election in less than 4 years there. The coalition is set to include religious ultranationalist groups like the Jewish Power Party, which holds anti-Arab and homophobic views. In 2007, its leader, Itamar Ben-Gvir, was convicted of racist incitement against Arabs and backing a group considered to be a terrorist organization by the U.S. He is expected to be named National Security Minister. Joining us now to talk more about this is Brett Bruin. He is the president of the Global Situation Room and the former director of global engagement for the Obama White House. Brett, glad to have you with us to talk about this morning. I mean, many say this could be Israel's most right-wing government in history. How concerned are you about this, and how damaging would it be for peace prospects and a future Palestinian state?
Well, I think this is a significant step in an extreme direction for the Israeli government. And obviously, it presents a real challenge to the Biden administration. How do they maintain that strategic, that strong relationship with a critical ally in the Middle East at a very fragile time? And I think ultimately this comes down to that old realpolitik of how do we find the ground on which we can collaborate while trying to contain some of the excesses that obviously some of the new ministers in Netanyahu's cabinet are likely to get up to.
Do you expect the Biden administration to react to all this? And do you worry that U.S.-Israeli relations could be harmed in the long run?
Well, this is going to strain relations. There's no doubt of it. I remember being in the White House, though, when Netanyahu came to town, he didn't bother to inform the administration and instead planned to address a joint session of Congress. And that certainly was a moment of considerable strain on our relations. But we never had these kinds of extreme elements in his government. And I think that is going to present a real challenge. The way the Biden administration's saying they're going to handle it is to hold the prime minister personally accountable for their actions. What does that mean? I think we're just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what kind of leverage does the Biden administration have in dealing with any extremist policies the government might adopt? I mean, maybe are they going to wait and see if that's what happens? Could they cut military aid, or what are the steps here, the carrot or the stick, perhaps the stick here?
Well, you know, Joe, the challenge in using leverage is we take our most considerable leverage, that military aid that you mentioned, more than $1 billion, and remove it from the equation. I don't think the Biden administration could cut back, certainly not remove any of that aid. And so you get into a situation where we try to work around the edges. For instance, Prime Minister Netanyahu is going to want to further the Abraham Accords, deals with not only other Gulf nations, certainly Saudi Arabia, and he'll need U.S. support to do it. So those kinds of actions, I think, are ways in which the Biden administration can say, if you want our cooperation on this, we're going to need to see that.
All right, Brett Bruin, really appreciate your expertise on this morning. Thanks for joining us.
Sure thing.
Coming up, even more pharmacies are now struggling to keep up with the so-called triple-demic.
Yeah, 3 of the nation's biggest chains are now limiting how much kids' pain and cold medicine that people can buy. They're hoping to prevent a shortage, but what does it mean for parents who are actually trying to find those meds? Got that next.
We're back now with a new warning for parents with sick kids at home.
Pharmacies and drugstores are now limiting sales of children's cold and flu medication out of fear of a nationwide shortage. NBC News national correspondent Gabe Gutierrez is here with the latest on this. Gabe, good morning.
Joe and Stephen, good morning. An industry group is calling the demand for pediatric pain relievers unprecedented, but cautioned against declaring a widespread shortage. Still, for many parents, the scramble for children's medicine is hitting home right in the middle of the holidays.
This morning, Kroger is joining other major pharmacies struggling to keep up with the triple-demic. CVS, Walgreens, and now Kroger limiting sales on children's pain relief products per customer. Walgreens suggests for customers looking for items, our website updates with the latest available store inventory information frequently throughout the day. Many shelves nationwide empty, stunning doctors.
I never thought I would see anything like that in the United States in my lifetime.
And leaving families on edge.
It was scary. It was frustrating. It was infuriating.
Ashley Mishler from Memphis went to 5 different stores trying to care for her 18-month-old son.
We couldn't find his cough medicine. He had a fever and a cough. You just want relief for your children.
The triple-demic, flu, COVID, and RSV has led to a 65% increase in sales of pediatric pain and fever meds last month compared to last November. Doctors suggest families get creative.
I think in terms of some of your medications and stuff, if you can find chewable tablets, like say for amoxicillin or something like that, we can use chewable tablets for little kids.
Health experts say RSV has dropped off in the last few weeks, but flu and COVID rates keep rising, and another surge is expected in January following the holidays.
To use high-quality masks when indoors in public settings. This is especially important for people who are or who are getting together with people at increased risk for complications from COVID, RSV, or the flu.
Ashley canceled her holiday plans, deciding to celebrate only with her immediate family. She suggests reaching out to your neighbors for help if you can't find the medicine you need.
Talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, and, try to work together as a community to say, hey, I checked this store.
Health officials say it is hard to predict where we might see additional drug shortages in the coming months. So talk to your doctor if you start to feel sick, guys. Good
important advice.
Another good reason to actually talk to your neighbors and know their names. I love that.
Yeah, that is very, very helpful.
Yeah, all right. Real connection.
Gabe, thank you.
Let's keep the health news going with your weekly checkup. I'm afraid we might not have good news for you if you are already on your second cup of coffee this morning.
Yeah, we're also learning if you're visiting your doctor more frequently, it may actually be a warning sign of an even larger health problem.
NBC News medical contributor Dr. Kavita Patel joins us to discuss some of the health headlines you might have missed over the last few days. Dr. Patel, good morning to you. All right, one of the first things many of us do, I know I do in the morning, is pour a cup of coffee. There's a new study from the American Heart Association that shows some people should stop at 1 cup. So who and why?
All right, Joe, this had me reaching for a smaller cup this morning myself. But listen, this applies. This is a large study that was done in Japan over 20 years, looking at over 18,000 men and women, trying to understand patterns associated with death from cardiovascular disease. What they found is that people who had high blood pressure, severely high blood pressure, we're talking greater than 160 over 100, which are pretty high numbers, should not drink 2 cups or more because it is associated with twice the risk of death from cardiovascular disease. compared to people who did not drink any coffee. So the takeaway here is that drinking 1 cup of coffee a day is what I used to tell patients, because for some people that can actually be heart protective. And again, I think the doctor's orders in this situation, caffeine can be a friend or a foe. So you really need to understand whether you are in that bracket, know your numbers. Check your blood pressure. Most people get their blood pressure checked just once a year. We like to recommend that if people are at risk for high blood pressure, or if they've had a history of high blood pressure, check it at home, get a good quality monitor, and then adjust your caffeine intake. Remember, caffeine doesn't cause the cardiac death, but it is associated with it and probably speaks to other lifestyle things that you can change, like your diet and exercise. It always comes down to some of those basics, Joe and Stephen.
Absolutely does. And sticking with heart health here, our next study found that in the weeks leading up to a cardiac arrest, a lot of people will visit their doctor more often than usual. What's the link there? Could there be more warning signs than we even know about now?
Possibly. So this is a 5-year study done by European countries, and this is really to look at sudden cardiac death. It's a very specific type of cardiac death where the heart goes through an abnormal rhythm and just beats in a different way that stops blood flow, and a person can die within 10 to 20 minutes if they don't have CPR or some sort of rescue. So part of the message is that many of these patients were actually seen by a doctor in the months prior to their cardiac arrest. And that's a signal. That means that in my world, in doctor's orders, that you really can't just rely on that 15 to 30-minute visit once a year. You really have to understand and pay attention to your body and advocate for yourself. And then also for all of us as citizens, myself included, know your ABCs of CPR. This 5-year study also looked at the rate of that rescue when someone did have a cardiac arrest, and it is unfortunately all too low, meaning we can prevent and possibly treat some of these cardiac arrests.
All right, here's something that can help your heart. We're talking about cycling. Americans have been taking to cycling more and more in the past decade. But according to the National Electronic Injury Surveillance System, that's a thing, fewer of us are getting hurt with the exception of one group. What can you tell us about that?
Joe, you'll learn there's a surveillance system for a lot of things, and we benefit from it. So that's not a bad thing. And I might be one of the only people in the pandemic that didn't go out and get a bike. So this does not apply to me, but I am going to go try to get one because exercise is a great thing. Over 10 years, this surveillance system saw that even with the increased bike riders during and even after kind of the brunt of the pandemic, that we have seen bicycle injuries on the decline. That's good news, except for people over the age of 60, where we have seen steadily those injuries increasing. Most common injuries are to the head and to the trunk. So the doctor's orders here, safety does not happen by accident. It does not matter how old you are, you need a plan. And what I tell my own kids, no helmet, no ride, applies to me too.
That is very good advice. I'm the other person who did not get a cycle or bicycle during, or a Peloton or a whatever during. Did you get one? Or?
I did not.
No.
Three amigos here. Did not.
All right, there we go. We're the three. So in case you're wondering, you can mark it to us. All right, Dr. Patel, as always, thank you so much. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Well, coming up on Morning News Now, Twitter shakeup.
Elon Musk says he will step down as CEO of Twitter once he finds someone, quote, foolish enough to replace him. This comes days after he posted a poll asking users whether he should leave. We're going to have the very latest in just a moment.
Welcome back. Billionaire businessman Mark Cuban is on a mission to revolutionize the pharmaceutical industry in an effort to combat rising medication costs. The entrepreneur and TV personality started an online business providing some steep discounts on prescription drugs. NBC News and senior legal and investigative correspondent Cynthia McFadden sat down with Cuban to discuss his vision for that industry.
Well, maybe you've heard of billionaire Mark Cuban because you watch Shark Tank, or perhaps it's because you are interested in the Dallas Mavericks, which he owns. But whatever your reason, the reason we went on the road to Dallas to meet him in his office was because of a new company that he's founded in this past year, in which he is determined to disrupt the pharma industry and the way they price drugs. Take a look. Because you've got to have like a real office somewhere.
No, this is it.
No, this is it.
Complete with concrete floor and thrift store worthy furniture. That's when I was 16 in junior achievement.
And you were good.
Oh, I was great. The windowless office may not be what you'd expect for someone estimated to be worth nearly $5 billion, but the confidence fits. Put the money where it has an impact. For the past year, Mark Cuban, the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, and a regular on Shark Tank.
And so for those reasons, I'm out.
has been trying to impact the world of prescription drugs.
And one of the first things you said about all of this, if I may quote you back to you, was that you intended to F up the pharma industry.
Yeah, I was comprehensive. I didn't use the word F or the letter F.
So how are you doing on that goal?
They still don't know we exist, but at the same time, we're impacting the lives of, million-plus people.
In just 10 months, he says, his 1.5 million online customers can choose from about 350 generic medications. Cuban is so confident it will work, he is funding the entire thing himself. How much has he spent?
More than a bag of chips.
100 million?
It's a lot, yeah.
More than that?
Yeah, it's a lot.
So, is it working? NBC News selected several drugs to compare, and prices are, as claimed, often lower than competitors, sometimes costing even less than a patient's copay. This leukemia drug retails at a pharmacy chain for more than $1,500 a month. With insurance, a typical copay is $30, but at Cost Plus, no insurance needed, $19.40.
Are there bad guys, from your perspective, morally bad guys, driving these prices up?
I'd say that they're misleading, and they try to create the perception that the patient comes first, and they don't.
He says he's able to offer lower prices by bypassing insurers and middlemen, and even plans to make some medications in his own facility. And he says transparency is key. On his bills, customers see what Cost Plus paid for the medication, along with a 15% markup, a $3 pharmacy fee, and a $5 shipping fee.
The concept is very simple. We want to be the low-cost provider of any medication we're legally able to sell. We're a lean, mean medication-selling machine.
Cuban says he's not making money yet, but says, for now, that's okay.
It's the right thing to do. I have money. And we will make money. I don't want this to seem like it's completely altruistic. It will be profitable.
So to the cynical out there, this is a great way to suck people in, and then you raise the price.
No, it's a great way to suck people in, and where we can, lower the price. And hopefully they tell all their friends.
That is just what Christina Costa did. Her Instagram video now pinned to Cuban's feed.
I have epilepsy and brain cancer and anxiety.
Costa told NBC News she's never met Cuban, but that using Cost Plus drugs is saving her nearly 90% on her medications every month.
This is the only company, the Mark Cuban Cost Plus Drugs company, is the only company I've ever put my name on, because this is what I want my kids to be proud of me for.
To that end, he says he will not be satisfied until he's able to lower the price of insulin and a host of other life-saving medications.
Mark Cuban, not a man to bet against. Back to you.
All right, Cynthia McFadden, thank you so much. All right, to financial headlines now, starting with Elon Musk's announcement after his controversial Twitter poll results.
CNBC's Silvana Henao joins us with that and other money news. Silvana, what's the latest on Elon?
I've got it for you. Don't you worry. All right, so Elon Musk says he'll step down as Twitter CEO once he finds someone foolish enough to take the job. In a tweet last night, Musk says he'll continue to run Twitter software and services team, signaling he still plans to be very involved in day-to-day operations. Now, this latest announcement comes just a few days after Musk posted a poll on whether he should step down, with more than 57% of people voting yes. Shares of Tesla fell more than 8% yesterday, pushing the company's market valuation below that of ExxonMobil. The decline coming after Wall Street analysts downgraded their price targets on the electric vehicle maker. Analysts are worried CEO Elon Musk is distracted by his takeover and micromanagement of Twitter, and Tesla sales in China will be impacted by the recent surge in COVID cases. Tesla is down nearly 50% this quarter, almost 30% this month, and about 61% this year, which would be the worst on record. Mortgage lending billionaire Matt Ishbia is buying the NBA's Phoenix Suns and WNBA's Phoenix Mercury for a record $4 billion. Ishbia is lending an investment group taking a controlling stake in the teams. The sale comes after the NBA suspended Suns and Mercury owner Robert Sarver for workplace conduct issues. Ishbia is CEO of United Wholesale Mortgage, the nation's largest mortgage lender, guys.
All right, Silvana, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Coming up, 2022 was a huge year for space exploration.
Yeah, the U.S. is one step closer to sending astronauts back to the moon. And for the rest of us, the idea of space tourism is becoming a bit more likely. We're breaking down the biggest space stories of the year and what the future for our galaxy exploration holds. That's coming up next.
Welcome back. The once failing revival of Funny Girl on Broadway is now one of the Great White Way's shining stars. The production took in more than $2 million over 8 performances last week. That set a record for the highest gross, not only for that show, but at the August Wilson Theater, which is Funny Girl's home. It's quite the script flip from earlier this year when the show first opened. It got off to a bit of a rough start with some bad reviews, only 1 Tony nomination. But after some high-profile casting changes back in September, we're looking at you, Leah Michelle. The show is nearly sold out every night. I can tell you from experience, I saw it before the casting changes and after the casting changes, and no offense, but it's just a stronger show and people are enjoying it and responding to it much
proof
better.
is in the pudding.
Exactly. Folks are responding. So it is rare to see that type of revival on Broadway with a show that's about to maybe even close and then suddenly it's like sold out all the time.
Love a comeback story.
Exactly. Very
Great
good
one. Well, speaking of comeback, time to look back at an astronomically successful year for NASA. 2022 is one for the history books with a plethora of missions and discoveries making headlines.
Yeah, from the recent Artemis 1 mission success to the never-before-seen images sent to us by the James Webb Telescope. No one better to help us break it down than our friend Mike Massimino. He is a former NASA astronaut, professor of mechanical engineering at Columbia University, senior advisor for space programs at the Intrepid Museum here in New York, and all-around nice guy. Good to have you with us. So, I mean,
good to see you, Stephen. Thanks for having me.
Let's start with Artemis 1 because we had the Orion capsule splashdown recently. NASA's administrator Bill Nelson says this was the beginning of the new beginnings. So what do you think we can expect from this one next year?
I think this is a pretty exciting story, guys. I was in Houston for the splashdown. We had our astronaut reunion, which we have every couple of years.
That's a good place to do it.
It's great. You know, it's the guys, the Apollo, Harrison Schmitt, the last person to step foot on the moon 50 years ago this week. They celebrated that anniversary, the return of that mission 50 years ago, Apollo 17. And the new astronauts who are looking to go to the moon in the future, and some of the ones like kind of mid-range experience, you know, who probably will be assigned to go to the moon, are really excited. I think being there was very meaningful because it gave me a sense of how cool this is going to be. I think we can look forward to the beginning of the year, the assignment of a crew that's going to fly to the moon. Similar to what they did with the Orion spacecraft, the Artemis 1, Artemis 2 mission will be a similar mission, but have people inside, not quite as long of many days. So I think we can look forward to the crew being assigned for that, and then also a crew being assigned, I think shortly after that, to do the landing, which is going to be a couple years after that. So I think we can look forward to those assignments and those plans and more of the infrastructure and details of how they're going to go back to the moon and settle there.
Did you put your hat in the ring?
For real. Nah, it doesn't matter anymore. You know, they've got new people to do that. So I'll be rooting for them, though.
The next one.
That I think will be cool.
Yeah, another big win for NASA this year, though, was the DART mission, where it was like the first one for planetary defense, the first exercise to try to see that. They basically, I think, smashed a spacecraft in, and they just completely changed that asteroid's orbit. So what can we see from that? Is there more developments coming from that?
I think they're going to be looking a little bit further into what actually happened with that impact that they had, that interface they had with that asteroid. So it was part of it was to deflect this thing and change its orbit, which worked. They may look into doing other things in the future to also alter the orbit to save us from an asteroid that might be impacting us. But what I think might be really cool that we might be talking about coming up this year is what they learned about what that asteroid was made of, some of the materials that they might be able to use from an asteroid, how you might be able to take those resources and use them here on Earth. So there's going to be more studying of what took place. What the reaction of that giant rock was. And they're also going to be launching another probe, probably about a year or so, it might not happen this coming year, to go and look further into what happened with the debris field that it created. So it's not just redirecting the asteroid, but it's understanding how asteroids can be used to help us here on Earth. So I think we can look forward to more of that coming up.
So much to study from that, and so much to study from the James Webb Telescope, which is just giving us these unreal images. I mean, so what's next for that? Could we get like some sort of 3D map of the universe or what?
I think we're going to have some really exciting things happening, Joe, but I don't know if we know what exactly is going to come out of it.
Okay.
This first year was kind of like a warm-up, the way I look at it. They launched it, it was a year ago, I think on Christmas or Christmas Eve, right around this time of year. And then we started getting the images back after they warmed the spacecraft up. But those were just the early release images. And a lot of what they've done is they've looked at Hubble images and other images, and let's see what the James Webb could find. And they're finding more galaxies and more stars and more detail. I think that's what we looked at this year, was kind of a warm-up, seeing what they could do with the telescope. And I think next year they're going to be making discoveries that we might not even be able to predict. And that's what happened with Hubble. Hubble, there were certain things they wanted to look at, like the existence of black holes. They found them. Planets and other solar systems, they found them. But there were things like the discovery of dark matter and dark energy that you didn't even know to ask the questions to look for these things. And that's what I think we might find to be really interesting with Webb. So that's going to be, who knows what's going to happen with that in this next year.
That is exciting.
Yeah.
And those images make great backgrounds for your phones, for your computer.
Oh yeah, they work themselves into pop culture. You know, a lot of artistic interpretations of these things. So yeah, people can run wild with them.
All right, Mike Massimino, thanks so much.
You bet.
That does it for this hour of Morning News Now.
But your news continues right now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.